We do have meetings and discussions about it. Like we had this fantastic organisation, I can't remember the name of it, where they focused on something called it's associative law. So if you were with someone just before they committed a crime, or you're in any way associated with them, you can be tried for that same crime, and it's mainly used against young black people. Yeah, I guess I didn't really mention how we organise events and what we focus on. What we focus on at the moment is a lot of our literature is focused on imperialism and Britain's role in the wider world, so going against the war in Syria, war in Libya, and basically all Britain's imperialist interests, which are vast and numerous still, unfortunately. We also work a lot with there's local issues, so we protest a lot of things like this bedroom tax. We organise protests in cities like Manchester, Birmingham, places that are really being hit hard by these ridiculous taxes. So people get taxed for having a spare bedroom, and they're kicking pensioners out, and it's just a ridiculous two-faced law. So there's and we try and expose a lot of the hypocrisy in the media as well. Do you have anything to add, Angela? You must have a slightly different experience since you're like on the ground in London.
In London, it's mainly sort of national issues, to be honest. I mean, more sort of widespread stuff, because obviously there are some things like, basically in the north of the country, poverty and stuff is a bit worse, to be honest. But there are some bits in London where, basically in London there's a bit of a disparity. There's people who are very, very rich and very, very poor. It's a bit more stark, you know. But in terms of London organising, because we have a lot of immigrants in London as well, we tend to focus on that sort of thing sometimes. So recently one of our comrades, his son was put in prison for on sort of a false drugs charge, and he's a young black man, and we were speaking with other people who had similar experiences on that sort of issue. There's a group who's, I've forgotten exactly what they're called, but there's a group in London as well where they focus on basically the same thing, people being tried on false drugs charges, and they're usually black men, you know. And also immigration issues, because there's quite a lot of there's rising anti-immigrant violence, there's fascist groups are on the rise as well, like the BNP, EDL, people like that. So we focus more on that sort of thing in London, purely because there are more immigrants and more descendants of immigrants who might be affected by that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have to, it's an uphill struggle to counter these movements like you have UKIP, the EDL, the BNP, all these far-right movements that claim they have the answer to our problems, when they obviously provide scapegoats as like immigrants and being in the EU, and we really have to try and refocus the debate, but because we are not covered in the mainstream media at all, we focus a lot on getting our literature out and trying to educate people, and the secondary goal of publicising ourselves through our literature, our pamphlets, and the website and YouTube as well, is to find those people that do have a good understanding of what's really going on, and try and get them to help us build up the base, because we are very young, we're still fairly small, but like I was saying to Caleb earlier, we get about 10 membership inquiries a week, and it's getting exponential. We're just getting so many people that get being disillusioned, and they're starting to question why they're being told all this crap by these far-right parties, and why the media isn't really challenging it, because they can see it's different in the street. They can see like their bills are rising. People have to make the choice whether they go to bed cold or hungry, because energy bills are rising, food prices are staying about the same, but the cost of living is continually rising while the wages are stagnating. Also, youth unemployment record high at like 21.5%, and they're seeing it all over Europe. And they see the hypocrisy, like Cameron calling for permanent austerity while sitting literally sitting in a golden throne, telling everyone they have to be poor forever.
What do you find is some of the difficulties, and what is when you're telling young people about revolutionary ideas? Like
the difficulty is since 1945, really, the end of World War II, the government has been set against communism and socialism. It's been a constant, and they're very good at it. They've got a very good grasp on media and propaganda, and the BBC does it very well. It's not so much what they do say, it's what they don't say. So for the past, well, since 1945, and especially during the 70s with all the miners' strikes and Thatcher smashing the Union, our working class movements have really been brought to their knees, if not outright killed. So we're having to build up again, we're having to teach people about those basic working class ideals, that these movements can be formed and they can be successful. And we can see examples of that across the world, but then it's counted in the media as well. All these places, we're told, evil dictatorships. Same story with the Soviet Union. They were monsters who provided healthcare, housing, education, medicine, etc. Those evil monsters took away everyone's freedom. So it's really working from the bottom up. But I think we have a lot of promise in this new generation. A lot of them aren't buying into that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of aware people in the previous generations, but it's just kind of ingrained. It's kind of like thought control, really. As soon as you hear communism, bad.
Right. Wow.
And I find that isn't so much in in the youth. They're more interested in learning about it. Either a more moderate, like slightly leftist slant, or they do have some good knowledge of what it means to be a socialist or a communist and to organise proper workers' actions.
Great.